introduction for people joining or watching back. So this Resource and Resilience series is all about exploring the really broad topic of chronic stress, burnout, and resilience, how we build that, how we embody that. And so I wanted to reach out to people working in various corners of this industry to get their take on it, to get their experience on it, and just bring in a whole bunch of their wisdom, really. And because this is such a broad subject and it's such a common thread that impacts so many people, majority of people, I would say, actually it bears having these big, honest conversations about it so that people can feel seen, get support, and just start to potentially support themselves in new ways that they may not have
Yeah,
before.
yeah, great.
Uh, so let's start with a little bit about you. Um, could you give a little bit of background on you, like what's led you up into the work that you do now?
Mhm. Hi, everyone. My name's Pandora. So I'm a business coach and mentor, and it's sort of my business mantra, as it were, my way of working is very much strategy meets spirituality with a heavy focus on digital marketing. Coming from a comms and marketing background, pretty much been doing it for over 20 years now. So I bring that to my work, but with a real fusion of the energetic spirituality. And by that I mean our connection to self, our connection to something greater than ourselves, and how we can kind of fuse both of these things to create businesses that feel like home, that allow us to be resourced, rich and regulated. And yeah, it sort of started, I actually originally trained in nutrition and yoga. I had issues with food myself when I was young, so it kind of made sense that I was quite interested in health and wellness. And um, interestingly, I sort of ended up writing a book on intuitive eating and living, which was sort of my unique take on intuitive eating at the time. It's very much how we were living that was impacting how we were eating. And at the time that book was published, I naturally started getting people come to me to say, your business is doing really well. Like, what's the secret sauce? I'm like, well, I'm just really fucking good at marketing. Like, I've been doing it forever. So come on, like, I'll help you. Like, let's do some business coaching. And it just sort of naturally grew in that way. And so now I kind of have 3 core masterminds. So I support women at every single stage of business. And yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's me.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And if anyone hasn't followed your work yet, like follow her right away. I've had the privilege of working with you already, and it is incredible. It's an incredible space that you hold. And I would love to hear a little bit about what's the experiences that you had previously before you moved into this work, that those kind of challenges that you've overcome, and that supports sorry, and that supports you in the way that you support people now.
Yeah, 100%. I think when and I'm going to sort of go back to when I kind of worked in a kind of more corporate environment, it's a very different kind of pace.
Mm.
I was definitely, I wouldn't say that I've considered myself kind of peak burnout, but I was definitely on my way there, which we know is burnout, survival. And definitely kind of moments of stress, definitely moments of prioritizing work over anything else. And I know that, a huge part of that was you know, it was a way to validate myself. And I'm really grateful for that version of me, and how she lived, because actually she taught me a lot about how I don't want to live now. Um, but I knew when I started my business, and I think, I have an interesting take in the sense that, like, of course, I don't want any of my clients feeling dysregulated or stressed, or, but I do think there is a reality as entrepreneurs and business owners that sometimes there is, certain requirements of you and and of your capacity. And I always sort of explain, like, as we grow into more layers of success, whatever that version is, but let's say growth within our business, like, we're ultimately always expanding our capacity to hold more. You know, what I hold now, the responsibilities I have, the difficult conversations I have to have, you know, I'm holding a lot more money, I'm holding a lot more clients. Like, there's a capacity that I've grown into to be able to hold that without stress.
Yeah.
And it's not to say, and actually I wouldn't say that I necessarily feel stressed, but there are difficult things that I do, not on a very regular basis, but just as, you know, as an entrepreneur. And I think that there's kind of, there can be quite a lot of narrative that it's sort of one or the other. And I think that, you know, it's like knowing that actually that's not how we want to live day to day, but that there are maybe times where you're going to have to go in and lean in a bit to get a result that you want to get. And I think it's that knowing what your, I sort of almost see it as like a parameter, right? So whereas my parameter used to be like this, and I was up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, I remember like Friday nights, it's like, oh, I'm so tired. And I'd go out and I'd get drunk and I'd party the weekend, and I'd like do, there's never any time to like to you know, recoup and reset. Whereas now I feel like, you know, that window is almost like a little bit shorter, like it is up and down, but it's not a roller coaster. It's, you know, and I sit more here versus going beyond it like I used to.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of, this is my centered self space. And I rarely get outside of it. I might be, you know, up and down, like, you know, to the top and to the bottom, but it never goes beyond. And I think if we can get to that, we are able to create an environment that feels very sustainable for whatever growth we want to see, whether that's, you know, inner growth or financial growth or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And so how do you support your clients in building that capacity?
I speak a lot and teach a lot, kind of, it's not what we're doing in our business that creates our safety.
Yeah.
You know, we look for our business, like, when I've got this money, when I've got 20 clients, when I, like, everything's going to be amazing. You get there and it's like, oh shit, this is hard. This is, I've got more responsibility. I've got this is, and it doesn't necessarily make you feel safe. No amount of money in the bank actually, you know, it can make you feel safe. I find that people kind of go to that spectrum where suddenly they've got all this money and it feels really unsafe because it's like, this is abnormal.
Yeah, spend it, spend it.
Spend it, spend it. That was me. Like, spend the first 50 grand a month. Spend it, get rid of this. It feels really weird. And it's like, oh, okay. So again, you know, there's that kind of a bit of building a capacity. Yeah. But those safety anchors, and I actually think that, you know, again, we can complicate it so much. It gets to be so super simple. Yeah. You know, my partner calls me a granny because it's like I'm in bed by 9:30, 10 p.m. every night. I sleep, same sleep time, same wake time. You know, if I'm going out, I might stay a little bit later, but generally that's my sleep and wake time. Yeah. You know, I don't kind of go through phases where I exercise loads and then don't exercise at all. It's just, I just try and exercise, you know, a couple of times a week, every week throughout the year. Like, and I think that, you know, healthy food, good sleep, you know, a good kind of restful practice, whether that's meditation or, you know, just, I can't sometimes call it like my millionaire nap, where I just lay. It's like, oh, that just that time that I have just to completely reset. You know, giving yourself space in the day, getting out in nature. Like, it's often sort of the simplest things that allow you to feel safe, so that when you're in your business, which by nature is quite unsafe, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty in business. When you create certainty, I think, you know, in a really divine way in your kind of personal world, so much easier to go into the business being like, okay, I can do this. You know, whereas if things in other areas of your world, like your relationship with yourself, you know, how you eat, your sleep, like, if all that feels chaotic, you know, how you do one thing is how you do everything. You're bringing that into the business. So, you know, like, really, it's sort of really thinking about the entirety of who you are and how you're living that supports who you get to be in your business. And so that's where, you know, in answer to your question, how I support clients, it's like, okay, what's actually going on here? You know, you might deliver me a problem and I'm like, I think there's something beyond this problem. What's actually going on? Oh, well, I'm really tired, and oh, my kid's been sick. And it's like, okay, so what do we need? And it's like, I just actually need to take some time out. Okay, well, why don't we do that, and then let's see how we feel about that problem next week. You know, because things are always going to feel more like a problem and heightened when we ourselves aren't able to respond to it in, you know, from a space of regulation. So
Absolutely. And it's such a tricky space, especially if you're setting up your own business from a real place of like heart, purpose, like this is the impact that I want to bring to the world. And it's so easy for our sense of self to get tangled up in all of our business as opposed to the way we show up with our clients, for example, if you're like service based, or it's really hard for then our sense of self to not get feel very vulnerable to when things don't go to plan.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, it's business. It's not always going to go to plan. And again, that resilience that we build is like, okay, it's not going to plan. What do we do? Not, oh,
Mm.
that's it. It's over. I failed. No one cares. No one loves me. Like, no, I just think your sales page needs a tweak. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? And it's like, that's where we get to where it's like, it's not about us. It is about us. It's not about us. There's that separation from it, which is, let's just actually look at what the real problem is, not make it, directly on what we've done or not done. And I think there's a real strength that we find. It's personal power,
Yeah.
and a mature. I've been using the word mature recently. I think there's a maturity that we grow into
Mm.
as we grow into, as our businesses grow, where the things that maybe used to matter just start mattering because you realise that that just never mattered. But there are things that do matter, and I think it's a maturity of how you're treating yourself and how you're nurturing yourself, and yeah, it's a really beautiful space to grow into. Um, but I do think to say it won't be hard and you'll never feel stressed is just it's just that's just not real
No,
life. But I think that there's a way that we, it's the perspective we have on it.
absolutely. Yeah, it's the I actually just shared something not long before we hopped on this, and it was about even just having an awareness of when you start functioning from that survival mode.
Yeah,
Like to go, okay, as soon as you go into that, like me and them, or there's one way or the highway kind of way of thinking, when things get rigid, to just even know that and identify that in yourself and go, okay, I'm pretty confident if I'm seeing this through this lens, I'm running on survival right now. So again, what do I need? What do I need so I can start to like the spectrum of choice can be available to me again, and I can start seeing this from different angles. It's having that sense of kind of agency and attunement to ourselves
yeah,
that we're more on our own team,
yeah. And I think
Yeah,
getting attached to, so I find, like, I notice the subtle changes in myself where I'm getting a little bit, like, you know, spicy, to use your language. It's like I'm not
yeah,
neutral, I'm getting a little bit attached, and it will be, I've gone into launch, I've done a masterclass, I'm picking up my phone every 3 seconds. Is someone bought?
yeah,
Is someone joined?
yeah,
Or what? It's like, whoa, or I'm picking up my phone a lot, or oh, I just quickly check this. And I find that actually just the more space you can give yourself in these moments of like, I've done that, and now I'm going to go for a walk. I've done that, and now I'm going to go just spend 10 minutes moving or doing whatever is going to support me in this moment. And it's that like, those small things that we do throughout the day versus like work, 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 and then okay, now I'm going to go on a retreat. 6 months
yeah,
later, like
yeah,
just I don't work Fridays, for example, and that's been, and like last year, quite a few Fridays I did sort of work sort of creeped in, and now I'm like this year it really is like a no zone space, which means that also from April when we go into kind of the bigger launch of the masterminds, Slack access is now Monday to Thursday, which feels edgy. But
yeah,
equally, I'm like most of my clients, actually, I've either encouraged to take a Friday off or they kind of try to anyway.
yeah,
I'm like, do you know what? Let's all just be in this together. Like, unless it's super urgent, in which case, obviously, I'm going to respond to you and I'm going to know about it because we'll have, discussed it in the week. No access to me on a Friday. And it feels really beautiful to know that I'm setting that boundary for myself.
yeah, yeah. I love that because, so much research has come out around the 4-day week being a way more productive week, like happier employees, more productive employees, more connected and sociable employees. 4-day weeks support us. 5-day weeks are when we can often just like fall flat on the sofa watching Netflix and doom scrolling on Friday because like we were way beyond our capacity on
Mm.
Thursday. And that's something that I wanted to speak to you about because, you're supporting people and you have done it yourself, creating a business that supports you and supports how you uniquely roll. And it goes against a lot of the old rhetorics around patriarchal, capitalist
Yeah.
ways of working. Like, work your arse off. You should be tired at the end of the day. You should be feeling stressed when that boss's email lands. It's how do you support women and untangling themselves from that stuff?
it, Helping them understand that they can rewrite their story. You know,
Mm.
it's being real about this is going to take time. You know, when I think about my journey to, so my kind of journey was that everything was rushed. You know, so even like I'd say the last 2 years I've completely dissolved that way of being. Even prior to that, it's like, rush to drop off with my daughter, come back, quick exercise, shower, desk, boom, 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 boom. Right, rush to waitress, get food, pick
Yeah,
Romney up. I was like, where the fuck am I rushing to? And who am I rushing for?
yeah,
Like in this moment, who am I rushing for? And then it's finding those, with clients, it's finding those practical ways. So it might be at the moment you're seeing clients every week. Okay, what about if we reworked that to every other week or 3 weeks of the month? So what would it look like for you to have a whole week where you can get into your projects, you can be in your CEO, you could, oh God, that feels so good. Okay, cool. Well, why don't we start to just rework, your calendar, and is this possible? And it's sort of just, I don't think it's that sort of it's this and then it's this. It's a gradual journey into that new way of being and looking at like ultimately what feels sticky right now and what's the solution to that. It's always problem solution and finding those solutions.
mm,
And sometimes that solution then becomes a problem and then we find another solution. So it's, I think being really realistic on like this is going to take some time for you to adjust to, but like what's that first step? And then what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And it's over the course of 6 months, and you're like, oh God, that thing that used to just really annoy me or frustrate me or, trigger me, like it just doesn't anymore. Or that thing where I used to feel like I never had any time, like suddenly I feel like just everything moves a little bit slower and that's it. It's just really identifying and of course untangling themselves in the narrative that being that way of being makes them better than or makes them something.
yeah,
It's like no amount of anything correlates to your worthiness. And of course we all want to be validated, but it's like you were the only person that you really need to validate you. I
yeah,
do everything for me, and it's great that I serve women and I see epic results. I'm like, God, of course it brings me so much joy. But like, I do this stuff for me to fulfill me as much as I do for others. And I think that's where we can move into like tricky territory. It's like, but my clients need me. People need me. No, no, no. You're just basically that one problem. You're just sticking it. It's just really in a different way. It's like putting a wallpaper on it. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
finding the real reasons of like what that fulfillment is and your supreme destiny, ultimately, like your divine purpose. And okay, so you do that for you. And also in living in that way, I find that that's supportive in being less frustrated, triggered when things don't happen on the timeline you want them to happen on. Because it's like, is this your divine path? Yes. Okay, so does it matter that there's 10 people, not 20? No. Okay, cool, so go do your thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
again, a lot of it's like cutting through drama, cutting
yeah.
through noise, cutting through narratives. Is this true? No. Okay, what is true? What gets to be true
Yeah.
for you? It's that real rewriting of the story.
I love that, and I can resonate with it so much. And I think there is something really important in having been like a practitioner. I am a practitioner, but when I started, it was only seeing clients. I wasn't running courses, I wasn't running programs, I was teaching a few classes. So it was like money in, money out, right? And then all of a sudden, it was moving into this space of actually running a business
Mm.
and the complexities of that. So not only was I showing up face to face with my clients, I was having to learn how to like build membership portals and do all this and have space to create and think and write. And it requires a very different part of us. And the humbling, beautiful part of that is that if we can hold ourselves as the person learning, and like every new thing that you take on, you learn, you're like, yeah, I can do that now. This is awesome. We're like stepping into being able to build our capacity to hold a
Yeah,
business.
building our capacity to learn more, right?
Yeah,
And I think that this is, again, it's such a narrative that we have that I'm not good at that. I won't be able to do that. Like, is that true? You
yeah,
know, part of business is learning stuff that you don't know and becoming a master of something that you is required that you become a master at in order for the growth of your business. And again, it's like cut through the like the drama of it all. Like, I just need to learn this stuff, and I'm going to do what it takes to do that. You know, we've just taken our Facebook ads in house. I have had moments of like, this is really hard. Of course, it's like, you know, me and my OBM like, right, let's divide and conquer. The point is, it's like, but I chose that. I chose that. I'm
yeah,
choosing it. It's going to save me a hell of a lot of money.
yeah,
We're going to have a really delicious profit because of it. So worth it. And now it's like just second nature. I'm like, yep, okay, do that. I know it.
yeah,
And that's, I think, some people wait until they're like, once I know this, once I've, no, you're just learning as you go, you know, and you'll keep
yeah,
learning as you go. I'm like 5 years in, I'm learning stuff all the time. It's not like the one way. It's, well, it's this way and then I learn more, and it's this way and I learn more, and it's this way and I learn more. And you know, we kind of, I think there can be that, I'll wait until, it's like, no, people just try it. The majority of the time you might fail, and then you're like, okay, but at least I've done it, so now I've done it, and so I understand the logistics of it. So cool, now I'm going to do it again. And then that
yeah,
second launch is like boom, you
yeah.
know, or the first launch is that they invest in a coach who's done it before, and so the first launch is boom, and then the second launch is like, oh shit, well, that was meant to go better. Like, do you see what I mean? It's all
Yeah,
in,
yeah, yeah,
it's part of the journey.
yeah,
So, you know, yeah, again, it's that building the capacity to be able to kind of see things for what they are. And yeah,
yeah. And there's something really beautiful that comes alongside allowing ourselves to be like forever learning work in progress, because it really stops in its tracks that need for perfectionism really quickly.
yeah,
Like, if
yeah,
I want this to be perfect, then I'm not going to be learning this properly. So I need this to probably be a bit messy and clunky, and I might need to ask for help, and it might not work first time.
yeah,
And actually, it's often a blessing if it doesn't work straight away, because one, you'll learn more, and two, the scariest thing, which is it not working,
yeah,
has happened now. So you can go
yeah,
ahead and do it
yeah.
anyway.
And everything that doesn't work is, I say to clients, it's a gift.
Yeah,
It's given us a gift, something in your business that needs looking at, you know, whether that's like, oh, I'm spending so much time like emailing clients. Okay, do we need to set up an automated system so that they can book their sessions? Oh yeah, that would be great. Okay, how many hours is that going to free up for you? Oh, I think about 5 hours a week. Great. You know, or okay, so what is a VA? 5 hours a week. Oh, well, it's going to cost this. Okay, is it worth you investing in that VA? Like, again, it's stripping back the to like, what do you need in this moment? You
yeah,
know, how can we make this simple? How can we ease this? And that's a work in progress. You know, we're still, you know, refining our onboarding and offboarding and systems all the time.
yeah. And I'm conscious of time, but there is something that I'd love to get your take on before we start to wrap it up. Is when you go from like a one-man band to a team, and not being able, like having to start to delegate and give things out to other people and not have full control over it all. Like, how did you find that? Because I'm just going through this process at the moment, and some days I'm loving it, and some days it's like, oh,
Yeah. Well, because I think again we can be attached to like, I've done all of this today.
yeah,
I did this. And then suddenly like, okay, that own, like, there's self-leadership and then there's leading others, like leading your team. And there's a
massive. Yeah,
big piece for us internally there of like, A, like, does it truly feel safe for me to be supported?
yeah,
Or, and like, where else in my life do I not allow myself to be supported? Oh, don't worry, I'll do that. no, let me make you a cup of tea. No, it's fine, I'll do it. Like learning to
Absolutely.
receive. Or one of my clients this week was like, can you just, people talk about learning to receive, what does it actually mean? I was like, 10 minutes 10 minutes back. Sorry about that, had to do a little two-part. But I was like, that is one of them. Like, you know, does it feel safe for you to be supported? How safe are you able to allow it to feel for you to be supported? What are you making it mean about you that you need to pass things over? And then also, you know, thinking about it from that business perspective, like CEO point of view, you are not going to grow as quickly or as nourishingly or as sustainably if you're trying to do it all on your own, you know? So I think there's a humility to it. It's like, look, I'm just really not good at this. I'm going to get someone who's really good at it to come on board and do the things that I don't want to do. Like, you know, I sort of always, with my kind of tier, like higher tier masterminds, you know, who are kind of broaching into that space, it's like we look at the overall business, like from sales, marketing, customer service, you know, all of the different elements, right? What do you want to own? You know, I still do all my sales calls still, and I love it because that's, I don't want to give that away to anyone. But there are some elements of the business where I'm like, you get to do that now. This is great because I've then got more time to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like knowing that, you know, you will grow when you allow yourself to be supported and able to delegate those tasks. You know, when we're controlling something, we've got to look at that. You know, what's my need for control here? You
Yeah.
know, I think there's a difference between having standards and
Yeah.
controlling. I have standards, but equally, if, you know, one of my team does something wrong, I'm like, okay, that happened, don't do it again. Cool. I'm not going
Yeah.
to be horrible about it because we have high standards. But I'm also not controlling. Oh, but have you done that? And can I check it before it goes out? Because it's like I don't need my fingers in those pies
Yeah.
because I trust you. And actually, we've created an ecosystem within the business, which is like, this is the SOPs, this is our systems of procedures. So you know the standards, you know the procedure. It's really easy for you to just keep rolling with that. Do you know what I mean? It's like when that's in place, it's so much easier to give it away because it's not like they're just going to do it in a different way. There is a way that it is done, and that is now done. And actually, the best thing is when, you know, your team come back to you and say, I think we could do this in a better way. It's like, oh, come on then, hit me up. And it is, and that, you know, we've just been around like a team of three, and it's huge, but it's also amazing, you know, to think that like I'm supporting them and paying for them to have a better life. And you know, I love it. You know, my OPM's amazing, and I wanted to get a really epic present for Christmas, and I've just got this aura ring. I was like, she'll love that. She's into health, she's training in nutrition, but she's kind of already got one that's sort of similar. And I'm like, literally, for Leia, like priority is you telling me what you want me to buy you. And she's like, yeah, later. And I love that I get to like treat her and obviously, you know, pay her to support you because she's incredible. Like it's amazing to have, you know, people in your team who work in the same way as you know, who aren't like more people who are doing this, and we're moving away from that narrative that it's got to be hard and grinding and, you know, working all hours. It's like, no, just whenever you can do it, and here's the deadline, you know. I love that.
And again, it's breaking free from that really capitalist way of working where your boss is breathing down your neck and you have to be working between this time and this time and they'll be here. And it's for people, particularly who are moving out of a 9 to 5 job into running their own business, that in itself is something that you slowly have to actually trust yourself to be able to maintain those standards without, not out of fear,
Yeah, yeah,
but because you want to.
totally. It's why I love having masterminds for every stage, because that first stage, like without support, you've really got to be able to back yourself
Yeah.
because you might not have evidence, and that's ultimately what it is. I've got evidence that this works. I've got evidence that clients pay me. I've got evidence that insert here. In those early stages, you don't have a lot of that evidence, so that's where having the support of a coach to back you and like gently be moving you forward is so powerful.
Yeah.
And that's it, isn't it? You know, it's like we all get to just kind of dismantle like how we work. I found a rhythm now, found a rhythm that really works for me, and that's how I'm able to stay regulated. If someone were like, that needs to be done by this time, I'd be like, yeah, but I'm not creative right now, but I probably will be in 3 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
There's so
yeah.
much beauty but that comes with a trust. It comes, with a trust that, we trust ourselves to be able to do it, and we trust others to show up for us in the way we want them to.
And that comes massively from attuning to yourself and your rhythms and paying attention to the days that you just smash that sales page out of the park in like 2 hours and it feels amazing. And those days, whether it's like you haven't slept or because your toddler's woken up in the night, or you're in that point in your cycle where it just feels sticky and actually you're best doing the more admin stuff, getting to know how you uniquely move, that means that you can make those informed decisions. And if you do still need to get that sales page done on like day one of your moon cycle, then you go, okay, I'm going to need 2 days to get it done instead of 5 hours,
Yeah.
and being able to make that from a conscious choice as opposed to pushing.
Yeah. And you know what? Be it behind all of this is, if you're enjoying what you're doing and it feels good, it feels fun, it
Mm.
feels aligned, it shouldn't ever and won't ever um feel difficult. I
Mm.
think like I compartmentalize, right? There are days I wake up and maybe there's some stuff going on for me personally that is challenging, but I am going to show up in the way that I need to show up for my clients. I compartmentalize it. It's not like, oh, my boyfriend broke up with me, and so I'm going to have to like just not real life. And I think that that's some of
Mm.
the things that we can take from the more corporate environment. That like work is work. You show up, you do it, and you have to compartmentalize a little bit. And I think sometimes when we do work for ourselves, it's very easy to go the other way of like, oh, I've got my period today, or oh, this has happened, oh, this, and suddenly it's like 6 months has gone down, and you're like, shit, I'm not where I want to be. Well,
Yeah,
because sometimes it is good to compartmentalize.
yeah,
Like, this is who I need to be for my business today. And then when I shut that door and close down that laptop, that's where I give myself what I need. And I think we get to have both. And I think that sometimes people
yeah,
barter with that it's one or the other. And I think it's absolutely both, especially if you have big dreams and goals to, grow into to a bigger business. Like, that's just the reality of
yeah.
what that looks like. I do have a team who can support me, but I equally, do need to be present with my business and with my team and with my clients. It's just part of it. But because I prioritize regulation and prioritize myself every week of the year, like I never get to a point where I feel like I can't.
Yeah.
Even if there is stuff going on that's big internal shifts. I feel like everyone was like 2022 is such a big year. I was like 2023. I was like just in like a tumble dryer all year. 2024 feeling good, pretty solid so far. Like, it's that.
Yeah,
Like, so there's always going to be stuff going on. There's always going to be sick children. Like, it's just reality. It's again build. How do we build the
absolutely.
capacity to hold it? And that will always come from how we prioritize ourselves first, over anything else.
100%, 100%. The shift for me this year has been, well, one, my 2-year-old has literally just started sleeping through the night in the last 3 weeks, which is
I
massive.
agree.
Which means that the way that I was structuring how I worked was actually I was giving myself a bit of time before I started. If I was dropping off at nursery and he was doing a little bit more childcare, so I wasn't trying to get stuff done in those snippets where he was playing or he was having a nap, and actually being able to actually assign myself to that fully. This is what I'm getting done now. And just like business changes constantly and your needs and your priorities be changing, it's stepping back often and regularly going, all of these things where it's these kind of self-care routines or whatever, or how I'm structuring my day, is this still working for me or does this need to wiggle around a bit?
Yeah.
And being able to be creative with that, I think, as well, and really responsive.
And being super self-compassionate, that
Mm.
not every day is the day that you have to do that thing. I have week on, week off with my daughter. My weeks with her, I don't meditate a lot and I don't get to do as much exercise. I don't have a lot of space and freedom.
Mm.
I'm okay with that. Self-compassion, like, okay, you didn't get to exercise this week. No biggie, because I had to prioritize other things. Then the following week, I have a little bit more space and time. Sometimes it's those weeks, like last week, where I had a retreat and I was like on deadline for a few things and, building, because it's January, so a lot of my clients are in like big launching mode. I was holding them. It was like, well, again, I'm just going to be really compassionate about that. to myself. It's like, and you know, next week's a new week, and there's that thing. I think, you know, it's, I didn't do it today. I didn't do it this week. It's like, give yourself space. Like, don't
Yeah.
let the timeline contract you. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, Thank you so much for today.
Me.
I would really love to hear before you go. Firstly, give us like one or two rituals that you like swear by that support you, that you do on
Yeah.
the regular. Obviously, maybe not on your like full-on mama week, but maybe on the week where you're not. Yeah, let's start with that.
So I have created an altar. It's just behind me, actually, next to the fireplace. And for me, like, even if I have 5 minutes, I light a candle, just like ding-a-ling on everything on my altar, and I just sit in silence. It's like just this like pure presence, and I just let the breath just, you know, anchor me back in. If I can do that every day, I'm good. You know, I'm good.
Yeah.
So for me, it's sort of having those anchor points, um, you know, and which of mine, you know, I'll have a cacao, I do meditate. You know, if I prioritize anything, I think at the moment actually it's exercise, because I find that that does a lot for me. But you know, I kind of have this big toolkit, and I just pick and choose what I need in any given day.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but I'd say actually one of the biggest things that I've been prioritizing recently is going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time, and the energy that that's given me has been huge. It was
Mm,
after listening to a podcast on, actually it's not about the duration that we sleep, it's the consistency of our sleep and wake time.
yeah.
And I would say that kind of, you know, a ritual that I have is I try to keep quite a lot of consistency. Well, I do. I have quite a lot of consistency with my working hours, the types of work that I do, and that just really helps me. So I won't, you know, I'll do all client calls on one day. I'll do all content on one day. So I'm only using certain parts of my brain, you know, not all of them in one day.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things, just real kind of just anchor points. You know, a cup of tea with honey, like a little bit of something, a little bit of sugar if I'm feeling a bit, you know,
Oh, yeah,
not. But
nice.
it's that like, oh, like what is the ritual that I need in that moment? You know,
Mm,
10 times out of 10, the ritual that you need in that moment is just to take a sweet pause
yeah.
and
Oh,
just slow
yeah,
down.
man.
That's, yeah. So actually, that's my other, like the big ritual I'm doing at the moment, like where I can throughout the day, just 10 minutes, and I put on like a track, and I just lay. It's like my receiving. It's like I'm
Yeah.
just gonna lay. Oh, that's delicious. And I get back up. Like, and that's how I regulate my nervous system as well.
Yeah.
Like just being still.
Beautiful. There'll be some people taking notes right now. Um, and so for anyone listening today who is either running their business full pelt already, or they're getting started and they are feeling stressed, they are feeling overwhelmed right now, what would you love them to
Mm.
know?
Look for your safety anchors. Look
Mm,
for things that make you feel safe. Stop looking for it in your business. That 10K month, it's not going to make you feel safe. In fact, I guarantee it's probably going to make you feel less safe. So find your safety anchors outside of your business. What can you do for yourself, for your health, for your body, for your heart, for your mind, outside of your business? It's like nurture, you know, your relationships. You know, find people who will hold you in your vision. That stuff, priceless. You know, for the growth that you get to see and the expansion you get to see in your business. And I believe that stuff's way more
yeah,
important. You know, like if you're fighting, you know, like, you know, you've got to have people in your world that back you. You've got to have safety anchors outside of business that support you. It's almost like that's the thing that lifts you up. You know, it's the
yeah.
foundation. Yeah.
And for those moments before you have a lot of evidence, whether you can do it or not, having community around you so you can pull on their experience is powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Pandora,
Thank
thank you so much for spending half an hour with me, or 40 minutes today on your Friday off. Yeah, sending you loads of big love. And where can people find you?
you. Find me on the gram. I would recommend clicking the link in my bio on the gram. I have a free resources page, and you can sign up to the newsletter. So I do. My kind of priority now is a CEO reflections newsletter that I do on a weekly basis. It's very factual, very kind of valuable. Kind of, I break things down like sales pages. Here's everything you need to know, and also my podcast, The Magnetic Woman, where you can sit and listen to me talk about various things on business, life, expansion, energetics.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And for anyone who's looking to get more support on how stress is impacting them, breaking cycles of recurring burnout, then the Resource and Resilient Women program is starting on the 26th of February. It's an 8-week holistic coaching and somatic healing program, which is in its second cohort, and it is powerful weaving of science, somatics, and trauma-informed therapy. So yeah, go onto my bio link if you want to find more. Pan, thank you so much for today. Enjoy the
Pleasure.
rest of your Friday.
Lots of love.
Thank you, guys. Bye.